The song was Crimson and Clover. The year was 1969. Hi, I'm Tommy James of Tommy James and the Shondells, and these are the sounds of the time.
Tommy James started his musical life as a 4-year-old in Niles, Michigan, playing the ukulele.
When I first saw Elvis on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1956, the ukulele went right out the window, and I talked my mom into buying me a Stella guitar. And I learned everything I could on the radio and on records. When I was 12, I started my first band. We were called the Tornadoes. The very first gig I ever played was the bar in the American Legion. I was 13 years old. I got paid $11. And it was either that or mowing lawns, you know what I mean? And I liked the guitar better.
The Tornadoes eventually changed their name to the Shondells.
It just sounded musical, had a nice kind of effervescence about it. And anything back then with an E-L-L-S on the end was a possible name for a group.
The Shondells recorded a song on a local label that unexpectedly became an East Coast hit after the band had broken up.
They bootlegged 80,000 copies of them and sold them in 10 days, and we were sitting at #1 in the city of Pittsburgh, only.
James headed to Pittsburgh to take advantage of the unexpected success, but he needed a new band.
I happened to go into a club while I was there and saw a group playing as the Raconteurs, a local cover band, and asked them if they wanted to be the Shondells, and they said, hell yes!
The new Shondells recorded a demo and took it to the top record labels in New York.
We had gotten a yes from every single company. I figured, we're going to be with one of the big corporate labels, and about 9:30 the next morning, we start getting calls from all of the record companies that had said yes the day before. And every one of them said, listen, we got to pass. I said, what do you mean you got to pass? I thought we had a deal.
James later learned what had happened.
Morris Levy, the head of Roulette Records, had called up all the other labels and scared them so bad they all backed down. He said, this is my group. This is my record. Back off. And he sounded just like that. What we didn't know, and what we came to find out incrementally, was that Roulette Records, in addition to being a great little indie label with a lot of hits, was also a front for the Genovese crime family in New York. And so we were rubbing shoulders with some very scary people. But they took the record to #1. They took Hanky Panky to the #1 spot all over the world.
There were creative advantages as well to being signed by Roulette.
They gave us the keys to the candy store. I got to put my own production team together. I could have never done this at one of the big labels. I was allowed freedom in the studio like I can't believe, and we were allowed as a group to sort of morph into whatever we could become.
The Shondells enjoyed several different hitmaker identities, including the pop balladeers of I Think We're Alone Now and the rambunctious party band of Mony Mony. But there were changes coming in the music business that would demand they make their greatest metamorphosis yet.
We had just come off of Mony Mony in the spring of '68, and we got asked by Hubert Humphrey's office, Hubert Humphrey, the vice president running for president that year, if we could join him after the convention, the Democratic convention. We ended up doing the entire campaign with Mr. Humphrey. When we left and went on the road, it was basically all singles acts on the radio. When we got back 90 days later, it was all albums. In that 90-day period, the industry turned upside down. And so we realized that we were going to have to start selling albums. And if we didn't, our career was probably over right then. So we were very, very blessed and fortunate to have Crimson and Clover at that moment. Crimson and Clover allowed us, and it's probably the only single we ever had that would have done this in one swoop, to pivot from AM top 40 mono singles market to FM progressive rock, progressive album rock.
The song's evocative title came to James out of nowhere.
I just made it up as I got out of bed one day. That's true. And I just, two of my favorite words that I glued together. And to me it sounded very profound, but I have no idea what it meant.
The psychedelic production techniques and shimmering vocals utilized the new studio capabilities to their fullest.
Crimson Clover ended up being the biggest record we ever had. Did 5.5 million copies in about 8 weeks. And of course the album went double platinum, and you know, it was just a milestone for us. And it gave us the second half of our career. And not only that, but Hubert Humphrey did the liner notes for us. Is that great? Wasn't that wonderful? Only in America. Morris Levy couldn't have been happier. This was the greatest thing in the world. He's selling albums, he's making more money than he ever made.
James has since chronicled his relationship with his hard-boiled mentor in a best-selling memoir.
It's my autobiography with about 2/3 or more of the book devoted to this very crazy relationship with Roulette Records. When Morris was arrested, by the way, in 86, I believe it was, and he was sentenced to 10 years for racketeering. He died before he could serve a day in prison. And I miss the guy. You know, with all of the turmoil and the nuttiness that went on, I do miss the guy.